Chapter 8. Dinner with Barbossa. Elizabeth sat at a table on the Black Pearl. There was a lot of food on the table: bread, fruit, and meat. Captain Barbossa sat at the other end of the table. "Are you hungry?" he said. "Please eat." Elizabeth was very hungry. She took some bread and some meat and started to eat. "Have a drink," said Barbossa. Elizabeth drank. Then she looked at the captain. "You're not eating," she said. "Is something wrong with the food? Are you trying to kill me? You eat it!" She gave the captain some bread, but he didn't take it. "I can't eat it," Barbossa said unhappily. "I'd like to. I'd love to. But I can't." He took the gold medallion from his coat. "This gold, Miss Turner, is very old. The Aztecs gave it to Cortez when he arrived in the Americas. There are many, many more of these, and the Aztecs put a curse on them. We found the gold on the Island of Tortuga," said Barbossa. "We took all of it. We bought food and drink with it. But then, suddenly, we couldn't eat and we couldn't drink. When we took the money, Miss Turner, the curse came with it." The captain suddenly looked happier. "But now we can end the curse. We had to find all of the gold. Then we had to put it back on the island and give some blood. For 10 years we looked for the gold on every ship and in every town." "And now you have all of it," Elizabeth said. "Yes. With this gold medallion, we have all of it. Thank you." She thought for a minute. "You have everything, and you're going to be free of the curse. So why am I here?" "There's one more thing. You're Elizabeth Turner, the daughter of the pirate Bill Turner. He was one of us, but he isn't with us now. We have to have your blood." Elizabeth didn't understand, but she was afraid. Her blood? She jumped up and tried to run, but Barbossa stood in front of her. She took a knife and pushed it into him. Then she ran outside. She closed her eyes. Her blood. What could she do? She opened her eyes and saw the pirates at work. Then she looked carefully. They weren't men. They were skeletons. Barbossa was behind her. "Now, Miss Turner, you can really see us." He smiled. "Yes, Miss Turner, we're all ghosts. You're in a ghost story." Chapter 9. The Island of Tortuga. Will helped Jack on the interceptor. The weather was good, and the wind was strong. "You're not a sailor," said Jack. "You're a blacksmith. Where did you learn about sailing?" "I worked on a ship when I was a boy," said Will. "I came from England. I wanted to find my father, Bill Turner." "Is that right?" "You knew my father," said Will. "I asked for your help when you were in this cell. You weren't interested. But when you heard my name, you said yes." "Oh, I knew him," said Jack. "Everybody knew Bill. He was a good man. He was a good pirate. No, shouted Will. You're wrong. My father wasn't a pirate. He pulled out his sword. Put that away, Jack told him. Why are you getting excited? Your father was a pirate, Mr. Turner. A good man, but a pirate. Now help me with this ship. They arrived at the island of Tortuga. Tortuga was a small, dirty place. It had a harbor, some houses, an old store, and 4 bars. Bad men and pirates went there. They wanted to drink and to find women. Come with me, Jack said to Will. We have to find some sailors for our ship. They went into a bar and found an old man. His name was Yoshimi Gibbs. He was asleep and he had a bottle in his hand. Jack kicked him. Wake up, Mr. Gibbs. We have work for you. Slowly, Gibbs opened his eyes. Oh, it's you. What do you want? Jack moved near to the old man. He didn't want Will to hear their conversation. We're looking for a ship, he said. The Black Pearl. The Black Pearl? The old man sat up. That's not smart, Jack Sparrow. You know the stories about the Black Pearl. Do you think Barbossa is going to give you his ship? Jack laughed. Oh, I think he will, he answered. He looked at Will, and the old man's eyes followed his. I have the boy, and they want him. That boy? The child of Bill Turner. His only child. Yoshimi Gibbs didn't speak. He thought about Jack's words, and then he smiled. Ah, I understand, he said. His only child. I think I can find some sailors for you now. Gibbs did his job well. Some of the sailors were small, some were tall, some were fat, some were thin, some were smart, some were stupid. But they were all good sailors. They stood in front of their captain. Jack looked at them. Then he showed them the ship. There's my ship, the Interceptor, he said. It is a fine ship, a fast ship. Sail with me, and at the end, you can have it. What do you say? The sailor shouted yes. Jack stopped in front of a sailor in a very big hat. Suddenly, a hand came out from under the hat and hit him. Jack fell to the ground. The hat fell too, and showed a woman's face. Jack stood up. Hello, Anna Maria, he said. You took my boat, she shouted. Ah, said Jack slowly. And where is it now? Do you have it? No, I don't. But this ship is better. He turned to the men. Get ready, he said. We're going to sail, and Anna Maria will give you your work. The sailors ran onto the ship, and the Interceptor left Tortuga. Gibbs and Will sat and looked out at the ocean. Do you know Captain Sparrow well? Will asked. Oh, yes, said Gibbs. I knew him when he was captain of the Black Pearl. What? Captain of the Black Pearl? But how? Listen to the story, said Gibbs. Jack Sparrow was a pirate, but he was a good man. He found the Isla de Muerta, and there was gold for every sailor on his ship. But his sailors didn't want Jack Sparrow. They wanted the gold. So they left him on an island with no food and no water, only his gun. They left him? They left him. But he got away. And now he wants to find those pirates, and he wants to use that gun. He wants to shoot their captain, Barbossa. The Black Pearl was at the Isla de Muerta. "It's time, my dear," said Ragetti. He smiled at her, but his one good eye watched her carefully. They put her in a small boat and left the Black Pearl. The fog got thinner. Elizabeth could see a big, black cave. "Are we going in there?" she asked. "Yes, my dear," said Pintel. Chapter 10. Gold. A short time later, Will and Jack and their men arrived at the Isla de Muerta too. Through the fog, they could see ships, old ships under the water. Jack turned to Gibbs. "Stay here with the men," he said. Jack and Will got into a smaller boat and started to go to the island. "Do you see that?" said Will. "There! A cave, I think." The boat moved slowly into the cave. It was very dark, and the walls were wet. Jack and Will didn't speak. On their left, they saw a light, and next to it was a skeleton. It had a sword in its back. They stopped the boat and jumped out. Then Will followed Jack, and they climbed for a short time. Suddenly, they saw some lights. In front of them was a second, bigger cave. They saw gold boxes, gold cups, gold plates, and gold swords, and a lot of money. The cave was full of gold. In the middle of the cave, in the middle of the gold, Elizabeth stood next to an old Aztec box. She couldn't move because Barbossa had his hands on her. Will wanted to go to her, but Jack stopped him. "No," he said. "We have to wait." Will didn't want to wait. Elizabeth's life was too important to him. "I'm sorry, Jack," he said, and he hit Jack hard. Jack fell to the ground. He didn't move. Will looked around the cave and listened. "Do you know my plan?" Captain Barbossa said to his men. "When this curse ends, I'm going to eat fruit. A lot of fruit." The other pirates laughed. Barbossa looked at Elizabeth. He took her hand and cut it with a knife. Then he put the medallion on her hand and closed her hand around it. "Blood," he said. "Turner's blood. The curse started with blood, and it ends with blood." He took the bloody medallion from Elizabeth and put it into the box, onto the gold. The pirates waited. "I don't feel different," Ragetti said. "Is that really the end of the curse?" "How will we know?" Pintel asked. Barbossa thought about that. Then he took out his gun and shot Pintel. Pintel stayed on his feet. The pirates were very unhappy. "Oh, it didn't work!" they shouted. Barbossa didn't understand. "You," he said to Elizabeth. "Was your father William Turner? Bill Turner?" "No," she said. The pirates shouted again. "She's not Turner's child!" She's the wrong person. But she had the medallion. She's the right age. They called to Barbossa. You killed Bill. You started this. Nobody looked at Elizabeth. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her arm. It was Will. Come with me, he said quietly. Quickly, now. Elizabeth started to move, but first she took the medallion. They ran to the boat. Look, the girl! She has the medallion. Get them! The pirates ran to their boats. Then they saw Jack. Jack Sparrow, said Barbossa. Aren't you dead? No, I'm not dead. But you will be. Barbossa took out his gun. Wait, wait, said Jack. The girl's blood didn't work. How do you know? I know. You don't want her blood. I can help you.